Good day, my name is Sky, and I appreciate you spending some study time with me. I'm here to help you make money in online poker by teaching you key strategies and getting you to take action. I'm going to help you improve your poker skills through the smart use of willpower. Gambate!
Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it! Make your dreams come true! Just do it!
To help you take notes with today's episode, go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod529. So the idea for this willpower and poker episode comes from one of my favorite books, The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And then specifically, Chapter 7, Willpower is Always on Will Call. That's actually a myth that they dive into with this one right here. And as I was rereading this, I'm rereading this for like the fifth time, this whole chapter just struck me as the perfect thing to discuss to help you and to help myself as well improve our poker strategies. So the very first thing I want to cover is this old saying. You guys have heard this before. Where there's a will, there's a way. You think that if you just have this desire to do something, that you can push yourself to do it, no matter the circumstances, right? But one of the things they talk about in this book is that this is not necessarily a true statement. It feels true. It's really easy to just say this statement, where there's a will, there's a way, but not necessarily here. The intention might be there, but the willpower, the energy, the drive to actually do it sometimes isn't. And I would imagine you guys suffer from this just like me. A lot of you are working 40-hour, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday jobs, and you think to yourself, man, I really got to study more poker. Tonight, after work, before dinner, I am going to study for 30 minutes, I'm going to play for an hour, then I'll eat dinner. And then what happens? You've drained all of your energy through working, your willpower is at its lowest, you just come home, you had that initial idea, I'm going to study and play, but then you fail to do it because you just can't be motivated enough. You don't have that willpower to put into playing and studying poker right then. And I have suffered from this a billion times in life, right? So I would imagine a lot of you have as well. The truth is, willpower isn't on will call. You can't all of a sudden decide at any time on any day, say, I'm going to study right now. I'm going to go for a jog. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to play some really good A-game solid poker. It doesn't work that way. You need the energy. You need the willpower there to push yourself to do your best. Now, willpower, it is a limited resource, but it is definitely rechargeable. Kind of like the battery on your cell phone. It's at the beginning of the day, right? You charge it overnight while you were sleeping. That battery's at full power, 100%. But through the day, as you're doing your stuff, that battery is slowly draining in your cell phone. Well, your body is the exact same way. There are things that recharge your willpower, specifically taking a break here and there throughout the day, resting, whether it's taking a nap or going to bed at night, or eating food after a meal, after lunch or a dinner. Sometimes that gives you a little bit of jolt of energy, and then you can have some willpower to get stuff done that you want to get done. So when you have your will, you get your way. That's a better saying than where there's a will, there's a way. When that willpower exists, boom, you can do those things that you know you need to be doing. Willpower timing is key right here. I want you to think right now, when is the best time of day? Let's imagine you have to do something important, the most critical part of the day, the most critical thing that you want to get done today. When should you do it? Might be different for everybody. You might have a different clock than me. Maybe you're a night owl and you love getting to work at 9 p.m. at night before you hit the sack at midnight, and that really works for you. Awesome. Me, I'm a bit different. I'm a morning person for sure. I get my most important stuff done as early as possible. Like right now, I'm looking at the clock. This is 10 a.m. that I'm recording this video. If I put off recording this for 1 or 2 p.m., it's not going to get recorded. And it would wait until tomorrow morning. I guarantee, I know myself. I know where my willpower is on the rise, when it's plateaued maybe, and when it's been decreasing. When you want something done, do it when your willpower is at its peak, whenever that is for you. And generally, right, because willpower recharges after rest, usually in the morning. For most people, you've got that good willpower. Now, here's a really interesting study that they discussed in this book, Willpower's Impact on Paroles. I'm going to read this section to you right here. And actually, let me show you this graph. This is a graph that references what I'm about to read you. The researchers of a certain study done at Stanford, they researched the Israeli parole system. They analyzed 1,112 parole board hearings assigned to 8 judges over a 10-month period. The pace is grueling. The judges hear arguments and take about 6 minutes to render a decision on 14 to 35 parole requests a day. And they get only 2 breaks, a morning snack and a late lunch, as you can see on this graph right here. And for those listening to the podcast show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod529, you can check out that screenshot. They only get 2 breaks, a morning snack and a late lunch to rest and refuel. The impact of their schedule is as spectacular as it is surprising. In the mornings and after each break, parolees' chances for being released peak at 65%. Remember, that's when probably the judges or the people making the decisions on parole have the most willpower. They're rested. They've got some food in them, that kind of thing. And then the parolees' chances plunge to near zero by the end of each period. You can see near 60% at the beginning of each high willpower period, and then boom, it slowly levels off right there. Really interesting way to really study how willpower works, because we fall back to default when willpower is low. When you're tired, you're distracted, or you're drunk playing poker, well, that's just going to be C game play. And when those things are in place, you're not even going to want to study. And if you do study, it's probably half-assed, super quick, ineffectual study time, right? And if we think about resorting back to default, if we think about the study done in Israel with these people judging these parolees, it's obvious these people are in jail because they were found guilty of a crime. They're serving their time, and now they want to get out. But they've already been found guilty of a crime. By default, if you don't have the time to think through, you don't want to think through all the factors of a decision for somebody's parole, you're going to say, well, they were guilty of a crime before. They should probably remain in jail for their full duration. No, 0%. Stamp that puppy. Send him back, right? That's default right there, because you're dealing with criminals, convicted felons and whatnot. Well, remember, in the mental game of poker, we revert to our level of unconscious competence at times of stress, anger, fear, being tired, distracted, all that stuff. So it's really interesting when your willpower is low, you just default back to you fall down to your default setting. And for a lot of us, that's just C game play, where we make calls where we shouldn't. We raise when we shouldn't. We bluff when we shouldn't. We fold when we shouldn't. If we had actually read the situation, we realize our hand is ahead, right? So that's why willpower is so critical right here. You want to be above the level of unconscious competence. You want to be able to think through, make proper reads and proper plays that exploit those reads. So here's the main lesson we need to take away from all this. Do poker at times of high willpower. Be aware of your willpower when it wanes, when it's waxing and it's at its highest point. Like I said before, for me, that's early mornings, and generally afternoons and evenings. If I try to study or if I try to play poker, I generally don't get out of that time that I want. I would rather do other things to help me out just in life, maybe with my business, editing a video like right now. Like I said, I'm recording this at 10 a.m. I'll probably edit it because it takes a little bit less brain power after lunch, 1 or 2 p.m. or something like that. Same thing with poker for me. I'll play in the mornings so I can play at my top level. I want to play A game, not C game poker. So what taxes your willpower? All of these things are poker related. When I saw this list in the one thing, it's right here on page 70. What taxes your willpower? Let's take a look at these items right here. And they're all related to poker as well. Implementing new behaviors. Absolutely. You learn a new strategy while you're watching a video, reading a chapter. You want to practice it. Your willpower is low. Are you going to remember it? Are you going to be able to spot the circumstances, the aspects that are in place to use that strategy? Probably not. Filtering distractions? Well, when your willpower is low, you might have YouTube on in the background to help occupy your mind while you're playing or studying. That's not good for you. Resisting temptation. Oh, it is so hard to find the fold when you're distracted or you're tired or you're not just actively thinking through the situation. Suppressing emotion. Anger rises, tilt rises as well, as we know, when you're tired, cranky. Restraining aggression. I cannot tell you how many times, and recently I talked about the bluff gone wrong tag that I use, and I reviewed an ace-king suited hand, and Yeah. Sometimes when I'm distracted, not playing at my best, if I'm not playing at my best, I cannot restrain aggression. I get too bluffy, too many check raises, too many shoves and whatnot, spewing chips at my opponents, right? It's just, it's another, uh, it's another mental game aspect that goes along with anger and tilt for me. Spewing chips, right, through aggression. Suppressing impulses. Yeah, kind of goes along with restraining aggression, right? It's really hard to suppress your impulse to call when you have a gut shot on the flop, even though it's a weak gut shot and your opponent is strong in position still, betting 3/4 pot, whatever the circumstance. Taking tests. Now, poker isn't a test, but not a test in the sense of school, right? But it does test your conscious competence and your unconscious competence. You need to be making proper reads and great plays all the time. Poker is, while it's a game and it's fun and we're making money, it is a test of your skill level. Trying to impress others. Yeah, how many times especially for a lot of you live players, you're playing with other people around you at the table and you want to impress them and you get aggressive and you try bluffs. You want to win pots by bluffing. As soon as you win, you show your hand. Well, sometimes that's going to lead you to bluffing and making bad plays at times when you shouldn't. You try to hero call down with an ace-high hand on a board with 4 to the straight and 3 to the flush. You should have known that he had the hand, but you had to hero call because you wanted to show off that you're making great reads and whatnot. Coping with fear. Yes, we all have, not we all, but we can have fear at the table, especially making maybe very expensive plays or calling down big plays when you're fearful of losing those chips and you can't actively, with willpower, think through the situation. Put your opponent on a range. See how that range interacts with the board. Your fear might just cause you to fold when you necessarily should have called. Also, doing something you don't enjoy can tax that willpower. A lot of you watching this, you know you need to study, but you don't necessarily enjoy the studies. So when you start your session off with 30 minutes of studying, and especially if you just don't enjoy studying, you don't like looking through hands, you don't like trying to find your mistakes and whatnot, you just want to play poker, if you're actively trying to force yourself to study a habit that you're trying to develop and you don't enjoy yet, you're going to drain that willpower. So if you're going to play your session directly afterwards, you might not play as well. So be aware of what things that you're doing in your life, even when your willpower is at its peak in the morning. If you don't like studying, that could sap that willpower, lead to worse play. And then lastly, selecting long-term over short-term rewards. And this kind of goes along with that other idea of studying, taking away your willpower because you don't enjoy it. You know, in the long run, you need to study. So you force yourselves to study, maybe when you're not necessarily prepared to study, when you're not going to be able to get the most out of that study session. And so that saps your willpower more. And then you choose to play afterwards. Boom, crappy C-game poker. Alrighty, now it is time for you to take action. Step number 1 is like the video if you like the video. Comment with your willpower peak time and subscribe for more, please. And then step number 2, do your poker at your time of peak willpower for maximum improvement. Gambate!